To be determined Friday Show, episode 16. I'm pretty sure that's correct.
I feel like I remember last week was 16.
No, last week was 15. I'm
Definitely
almost
15.
positive.
Yeah, no problem. I'm not telling the PB. This isn't even PGP. This is Friday Show.
This is Friday Show.
So I'm not telling this at all. So I will. Right there. That's for you.
Tribes Matt wearing a cap. What do we got today?
Oh, just the Pirates one.
Okay.
Nope.
And he's going to snap his neck. I like this good-looking hat, though.
Yeah, it's from friend of the show, Fots, Toby Matika.
Oh, he got you that.
He did.
Look at that. What a good coworker.
He's a big, strong man.
The truer words have never been spoken. All right, so a couple of quick topics for you.
Yeah.
Sabres lose in their season opener, and the Patriots hang on to beat the Bucks despite...
Hang on, survive, those are pretty good verbs for it. Because they didn't look great.
Oh, man, good. Just an advertisement as I refreshed. It had the Patriots box score as 13, which is not right. That's not right.
Oh, just needs to update?
Yeah, it wasn't like...
Why?
I don't know why. I clicked on it
halftime
after the game.
Halftime.
I think it was a halftime score. I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's not the final score. All right, so let's start with the Sabres. We'll start with the hometown connection first.
Yes.
Sabres losing in a shootout, which should surprise no one that they lost in the shootout. That they lost maybe a surprise, but even then...
Your boy
we didn't
Robin.
know what to expect. We didn't know what to expect from this team yet. You know what I'm saying? It's. I hesitate to say rebuilt, but that's kind of the feeling I get.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have the most in team history in terms of new guys on an opening day roster. They had 10 new guys. It's not like they're all new guys to professional hockey, but it's still a lot of new faces that need to be worked in. But yeah, your boy Robin Leonard, it's not his thing. It's not his thing. I saw one meme tonight where it's Milhouse in a Simpsons episode where he's roped to the posts so everything gets through, and somebody was very meanly saying that was Robin Leonard in faceoffs. Not in faceoffs, but in shootouts.
In shootouts, not good. I want to go back to the very first goal of the season. And I think it's very apropos of how this organization has operated the past few years and the feelings around this team. There's been a sense of nostalgia because there's been so much turnover, not only in the front office, but on the roster. And to bring Jason Pominville back, a guy that grew up in the Buffalo Sabres organization, you get that feel-good moment. But then just the way this plays out is that there's that high of Palmer getting not one, but the 2 goals.
Yeah.
To have him kick off the season with the very first goal, and then to ultimately lose the game, I just think that script is very apropos of where this team has been really the past 5 years now.
And it's that second goal, too. It looked like we were talking on, maybe it was this Friday show or something, where him and Eichel, Palmer I'm talking about, look so in sync in terms of passing, in terms of diming it up. And gosh, he was mid-ice through a couple of guys in Pominville with the no dilly-dally tally. I mean, just one stops it, one hits it, and look at that. I mean...
Can we get that again? No dilly-dally tally?
The no dilly-dally tally.
Oh, my God, look at you.
The second goal of the game, Max Patch.
Yeah.
The man, he just ends every season seemingly top 5 in scoring. Did it again.
That's a Ryan O'Reilly mess-up that you don't normally see. That's a mental mistake from O'Reilly, trying to make a fancier pass breaking out than he should have, and I think he realized it immediately. Obviously, the result... I mean, listen, that line of Pacioretty, Drouin, and Gallagher is going to be real productive, and this was just the first of many for that line tonight. That's a mistake. To get back to your point about the second Pominville goal, Ike on the far board sauces it through his stick.
Far board too, yeah.
I mean, that's a thing of beauty. And immediately Sabres fans are going to look at the fact that they lost and look at the fact that Ike only had 1 assist and McDavid had 3 points 3 goals in his season debut, and Austin Matthews, I believe, had 2 points in his season debut. So yeah, that you can't get caught up in this comparison tree because the teams are at different stages. The Sabres rebuild hasn't been as fast as I know Sabres fans would like, but it's probably not been as fast as even the owner Terry Pegula would like. It just hasn't been. You put all your chips in to get Babcock, and he wants to go to Toronto. So you have to settle for the next best thing, and that didn't work. So now you're restarting from scratch. And I don't mean restarting literally from the bottom up, but you're restarting from the general manager position. So now he's got a different philosophy on his brand of hockey. You start with a different coach. He's got a different brand of hockey. And so you keep hitting the reset button, and the systems don't stay in place. And you can't build the consistency. The Sabres should look no further than their in-town team in the Buffalo Bills. When you reset your team every 3-4 years, this is what happens. That's where we're at. Now, I'm not saying it's the dump button for the whole season. I'm just saying this game was pretty apropos of where this franchise has been the past 4 or 5 years.
And it plays into the point you made off the top of this topic in terms of it being a very nostalgia-based, not only franchise, but fan base. It's not just because of all this turnover, which you kept saying, which I definitely agree with. It's because it's a lot of youth turnover. I think you're still seeing that. Granted, it wasn't all youth, but it's a kind of play that the Sabres have struggled with. And just kind of mistake that it's really been at the forefront of what they put out there on the ice for the past few seasons. Mm-hmm. Just the way this game goes to overtime, the way it becomes 2-2. I mean, it's shorthanded. It's off the backboards. It didn't seem like there was any space between the skate of Robin Lehner and the post there, and it's kind of Hot Wheel ramps up and goes in. It's just very unfortunate. And then they go to a place and go to a format in a shootout where they're just not the best team around in. And it's really too bad to see. But going back to you saying that people need to not look every night, what is Jack Eichel doing in comparison to a Matthews, in comparison to a McDavid? I believe McDavid, and a lot of people are talking about going into this Eichel deal, how much money is he going to have in comparison to McDavid? I think it was maybe $10 million AAV below. So they shouldn't expect him necessarily right now to be doing the same exact thing as Connor McDavid is doing on a nightly basis.
They're two different players. Now, when they both got drafted, there was a lot of discussion about who was actually better, and McDavid had won out, I think, amongst scouts. And that I remember when Jack was drafted, they said this isn't a loss. This is still a generational player, and Jack will still be a generational player. That's why you have the confidence to extend him an $80 million contract before the season starts. That's the idea behind that. This team is going to be, I think, interesting to watch, and that's not necessarily what Sabres fans want to hear. And I just think it's going to be interesting for a couple of reasons. One, there's a lot of new pieces. I want to see how they work in. I want to see how the new systems work with Housley. And I want to see how guys like Eichel and Ryan O'Reilly and Kane, who have now been here for a few years, adapt to this system. They're comfortable because they've been in the area in Buffalo for a while. They know the building. They're familiar with all that stuff. You can get into your routines as a player. I want to see them elevate the team. The one question I want to get to you out of this is, the Sabres announced today 4 A's. No C. What do you make of it?
I don't like it. You got to have one. You got to have one. I know it stinks. You have a lot of talk over the last couple of weeks. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be a Ryan O'Reilly? I know we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
Ryan O'Reilly, who, in terms of mixing veteran and production, he probably has both. And then you have Pominville, which is veteran, and you have production with his Eichel. And a lot of people thought it was really more down to Eichel versus Pominville. But you still got to make a decision. I know it's a tough decision, but you still got to make a decision. Like, starting quarterback, in the NFL, you don't see a lot like maybe at the college level or even the high school level, if you really want to dwindle it down to that, where you see 2 quarterbacks playing a bunch of time.
Yeah.
We got to go with one. It's the pros.
It's amazing to me to see the discussion, and I thought my gut feeling was that Pominville was going to come out with the C. Either they would put it through social media or he would come out game one with the C. He comes out wearing nothing, which I think is even more interesting to this team. Listen, obviously Jason Pominville isn't in what you would say, quote, the long-term future of this organization because he's on the tail end of his career. But it is a guy like Gianta that brings those leadership qualities that you want. And he obviously, I think, just being younger has more skill to offer this team. Not that he was a better player than Gianta. I'm not saying that at all. Because I think Gianta was a better player when he was still in his prime. But Pominville still is on the tail end of that prime and will move into the twilight years, where Gio was in the twilight years when he first signed with the Sabres. That was a feel-good pick, feel-good signing. That was a hometown kid, Western New York signing by bringing in Brian Gianta. This, I agree with you in the fact that you can't have 4 A's and no C. There's too many roosters in the hen house, so to speak, if that's the best way to compare it. And I think your comparison about the quarterbacks is spot on. When there's a big decision to be made, you hope that only one of those guys is on the ice to go talk to an official. If 2, 3, or possibly all 4 of them for some reason are on the ice at the same time, who goes to talk to the official? Who's making the... You see what I'm saying? So, that's where by just wearing the C, you automatically go. The Penguins know Sidney Crosby's going. The Oilers know that McDavid's going. I still think McDavid was too young to wear the C. I really do. I just think for the culture of a hockey locker room, it's more than just the on-ice stuff. It's more than just leading the stretching, leading the huddle. It's the captains of these teams are throwing parties. They're in charge of, certain things in the locker room. And I think while Jack is experienced, he's still a young kid at the end of the day. So in terms of life experience, he's still younger. I don't think Jack should have worn the C. I think it should have been Palmer and then to Jack. And listen, really, if I had my druthers, I'd give it to Ryan O'Reilly. That dude's got every leadership quality you want in a captain. We talked about it, I believe, briefly on the last episode of the podcast of TBD, episode 31. I don't know. It was just an interesting situation. This was, to me, Phil Housley's first major decision, and he sort of went half in, half out on it.
He copped out a little bit.
I'm not satisfied with it.
Yeah, I don't want to have my tongue be too sharp about it, but I have to agree with you, and a little bit it's because I have that Avalanche soft spot, but I probably would have gone Ryan O'Reilly. We talked about, like you mentioned, we talked about this, but we got to hammer it home.
Yeah.
And then just Pominville, and he showed that, he's got some left in the tank, on top of being a big veteran presence.
Yeah.
Will have his time.
Yes. Yeah.
He'll wear the C. He will wear the C.
He's here for the next 9 years, and that's not even including if they get him for another contract on top of it. So, I don't know. All right, let's go to the Thursday night football game. The most important question, what did you make of the Color Rush jerseys?
I have liked them, and a lot of people every week make fun of them. I have liked them for the most part over their complete life.
How about this week, though, in particular?
Liked the white pants on the Patriots. Disliked heartily the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ones.
See, I love the Bucs ones. I hated the Pats. I don't like the white. Get the white out of here. That is awful. The white is terrible. That's not a color.
You're not laundering their clothes.
Listen, I'm not the one picking it, obviously.
Oh, they got some trim. They had some trim.
No, yeah, but that just makes it even worse. Just white the whole thing out. White the whole thing out in blue numbers. It's supposed to be a color rush.
Yeah. I think you still got to get blue, white, and red in there if you're the Patriots.
No, but that's not the point of the color rush, though.
I know, Sammy Watkins,
honestly,
in all of those advertisements, it was yellow and black. Mostly yellow, not black, but blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm the Patriots and they have any say in this, white the whole thing out in blue letters. If I'm the Bills, red everything out in white letters. And numbers. Letters and numbers. I honestly, the color rush thing's fine. At this point, I'd rather see throwbacks.
Color Rush.
If I had to debate between the two, I'd rather go Throwback than Color Rush.
You talked about nostalgia earlier on. I know it was something completely different. I'm a big nostalgia guy.
Yeah.
I'm a big retro uniforms, retro logos, retro colors. I would love it.
And these two teams tonight have great retro. I hate to say that because Bills fans will freak out, but the Patriots do have great retro stuff. And the Bucks are phenomenal. Those like orange creamsicle things. Oh my God. I need more of those.
Yeah. They've incorporated that a little bit this season with their jerseys. Actually, probably a lot. I think that's in their main jerseys now.
Yep.
But hey, to just go fully with that cream orange.
Yeah.
Woo.
Bring it back. All right. So the Patriots improved to 3-2 on the year. They're now 2-0 away, which I think is interesting. It's better away from Gillette because typically you go to Gillette and it's like a fortress for them.
Yeah.
That has not been the case, obviously. 3-2, the defense improved.
Yes.
And I think that's the best way to say it. Listen, Jameis still throws for 334 yards, which I think was about the average. But that also takes into account, you have to take into account with that stat, it's a little deceiving. When a team is behind at the end, they're going to the air a heck of a lot more. And to Jameis's credit, there were a few bad throws, but he at least was able to find his receivers. There was good pressure from the Patriots tonight, and really, in the 4 weeks prior, they had zero pressure on quarterbacks. They could do nothing right on defense. It looks like not that defense is what you thought it was going to be, but the Patriots, at least on a short week, have simplified things and figured them out.
Yeah, for that struggling coming into this game, Patriots defense, it certainly wasn't an all-encompassing positive performance, but it was so much better than what they've had at least the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
So you mix that with the fact that, yes, obviously the stats are going to be inflated a little bit with Jameis Winston because of him playing catch-up at the end of the game. But on the other side of that, kudos to Jameis Winston because, yes, you have to take his numbers at the end with a grain of salt, but he still had to complete those balls. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned him having some kind of wavering balls. That was really only in the first half. He was not good in the first half, obviously much better with a little bit of catch-up help there in the second half. But I was expecting so much more for this game, probably because 7 guys played in fantasy tonight. Thought it was going to be a shootout.
Did you have 7 different players?
7 different players.
Oh, my goodness. You're all in on Thursday Night Football.
I am. I do love it. It's not the best way to go about it, but
wow.
I love it.
Selfishly, Team TBD had – who did we play? Doug Martin. And that was it, right? We didn't play D-Jack?
I don't know if we did, but he ended up with 106 yards.
Listen, I played Deshaun Jackson.
I played him at least in another league.
I played him in another league too, and he did good things.
Yeah,
for me. I got 15. See, what was deceiving is Team to be determined on the CBS game here is not a PPR. It's standard league. We drafted this team thinking it was PPR.
Yep.
So let me just look at our roster here. It looks like we got 13 points on this. I'm just going to look and pray that it's not. Okay, yep. So what our general manager did, Steve Malero, he put in Frank Gore, which I think is a good. I think that's a good play.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, going back to what I was saying a second ago.
Sorry.
I was expecting a shootout. That's why I played the 7 guys. Because you have a couple struggling defenses and a couple of so far dynamic offenses, at least in terms of how many weapons they get involved, even with injuries coming into play here and there so far. Thought it was going to be a shootout.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm a sucker for Hard Knocks. And I don't think I'm alone in this, but I'm an absolute sucker for Hard Knocks. I watched every episode of Hard Knocks and thought, you know what? I can see the Bucs going to the Super Bowl. This is the Bucs' year. Just like we all looked at the Rams and thought, you know what? They're not going to be bad. They got some pieces the year before. You know, like every year you get suckered into this, and you're like, you know what? That team's not going to be bad. The Bucs, that offense is not good. It's not awful, but it's not for the pieces they have there.
It should be way more consistent.
I feel like they have too many pieces. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, actually, that's not bad. That's not a bad way to go about
There's
it.
too many good receivers. They've got 2 tight ends. They've got now 2 running backs because Jacquizz Rodgers played
Played
well
way too
tonight.
much tonight.
He played too much for our money. But no, he played well. Doug Martin played well. They don't have enough balls to go around. As they say in the NBA, there's only one ball.
Is that the same thing with football? Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel like,
carry the two?
okay,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I feel like that's an appropriate analogy, though.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but like I said, I thought I was all in on the Bucks, and I was definitely disappointed. One, you expect them at home on a short week to be able to shut down a struggling Patriots defense. The strength of that Buccaneers team is their offense, and they did not. They didn't punch him in the mouth. Now I get Nick Folk missed 3 field goals, and that's 9 points on the left out, and that's the difference in the game, and that has to be absolutely mentioned. I get that, but dude, if you're gonna have those pieces on offense, you got to find the end zone.
I really like the point you said about there being maybe too many offensive weapons that Jameis Winston, still a young quarterback, has to side through, which maybe is a little bit more on him mentally than a lot of other quarterbacks. I think the perfect play to look at when you look at that phenomenon is Cameron Brate had a very long pass play, not very long, maybe 17 yards. It gets taken back because of blocking the back from O.J. Howard, another tight end they had out there at the same time. So that's what you're seeing. But Nick Folk, oh my gosh. I mean, they get rid of Roberto Aguayo. This guy actually beat Roberto Aguayo in a kicking competition in camp. Barely, because he struggled plenty as well. In the last couple weeks, missed an extra point last week with a few field goals. End up hitting the game winner, but shouldn't have been in that case anyways if he had hit him. This week, lost by 5, missed 3. 2 of them were gimmies, seemingly, certainly for his counterpart there in Raymond James Stadium tonight in Steven Gostkowski, who hasn't missed one at all this year besides his missed extra point attempt. But saying it right now, Younghoe Koo just got canned today for the guy he beat in the competition in camp there in Los Angeles for the Chargers, and Nick Novak. He is going to be
the new Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
He's going to be kicking next week.
I mean, Folk's done. I don't think we ever see that guy again in the NFL. This was a disaster. You can't do it on national TV. You just can't do it. I feel like you get 2 teams. It's like Dan Carpenter. I feel like kickers get 2 teams to prove they can do it. Folk obviously just had the Jets and then the Bucks here, and he couldn't get it done. Carpenter had the Dolphins and the Bills, couldn't get it done. He's done. I mean, listen, it's amazing to me that organization spent a 2nd-round pick on a kicker, and everyone sort of went, what? What are you doing? It's a kicker. And I get that Aguayo was like the greatest college kicker of all time.
It worked out with Janikowski, but let's see. Yeah,
and you didn't. I mean, listen, you don't assume that he's going to be as bad as he was.
Oh, no way. But still,
no one can have predicted that. But still, my goodness, that this team in kicking is awful. You know what? Maybe that's it. Maybe they're a kicker away from the Super Bowl.
Can you imagine? I mean, on paper, at least, at the very least.
Yeah.
But I want to go back for a second to what you said, the phenomenon about Hard Knocks, and then I want to throw in Thursday Night Football, because I know it's a big problem with me. I wonder how many people suffer from this affliction. Because, hey, I picked
the Hard Knocks.
Yeah, I picked Todd Gurley last season. He was horrible, and now I was not going to touch him this year, and he's amazing.
Well,
I want to know.
To your advice, I avoided Todd Gurley in every fantasy league.
Yeah.
I think I only had a chance to get him in maybe 2 of them.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, maybe only 1 of them. He was gone before. I only had a chance for 1, and I passed on him because you were so adamant that you're like, this guy's not good. I don't trust him, the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, listen, I trust my dude. I'm going with you. We both paid for it.
You got fishered. But I wonder how much, because that show is so good.
Yes.
It's so well done.
Yes.
You know what? This is on Liev Schreiber. Okay?
Well,
this is on his voice is too damn buttery.
That's true.
And now look what we got. Now I got a bunch of Buccaneers. And they could easily be fine. And plenty of them. I mean, Cameron Brate, Deshaun Jackson, Doug Martin performed well. And even taking fantasy out of it, performed well today. Jameis Winston picked it up at the end. He almost had, he had very little time and got very close.
That O-line is not good.
Game.
That O-line is not good. That's
still
what we're
so
learning.
young. A lot of people were saying amongst the last couple years here that it's the next Cowboys one, because they, in the same draft, in the 2nd round, they got, on the 2nd day, because I think Ali Marpet might have been a 3rd-round pick, but they got Donovan Smith.
2nd-round pick.
Oh, yeah, so they got 2 guys in the 2nd round. Donovan Smith with the 1st pick of the 2nd round 2 drafts ago. Then Ali Marpet not long after that. A couple heralded guys have been good this season, but just a lot of youth so far. Still a lot of youth.
Yeah.
J.R. Sneezy comes in from Seattle, and I don't know if he's really meshing as well as people thought he would as a big name. But yeah, they let a lot through late in that game because a lot of the sacks early were by Tampa Bay, and it kind of swapped to New England later in the game, I should say.
Where does this leave the AFC East?
Even in a win, New England did not look convincing.
Okay.
I think it's not maybe grabs just yet, but it's awfully close, and we would have not even expected that to even be a question a few weeks ago.
Right. I mean, listen, we all thought this was between the Dolphins and obviously the Patriots in the preseason. The Dolphins, to me, look I don't want to say worse than the Jets because their players are better, but their record is worse.
Could be. I
mean, listen, if the Jets somehow win this week and you've got the Jets and the Patriots tied still,
they're playing the Browns.
It's a possibility. It's an absolute possibility. My head will explode. I don't think I can. I don't think I can take the Jets being 3. Did you ever think? Can you imagine if the Jets get to 3-2? Did you ever think that organization would be 500 or above this year? No.
I mean,
no.
Me, and a lot of other people thought it was going to be maybe an offer.
Yeah. And it's the Browns who are the offer, and I don't think many people saw the Browns being an offer. I think there was confidence that the Browns could at least do something, but I guess maybe I'm crazy there.
But hats off to the Jets because they made that trade very soon before this regular season started. They had Sheldon Richardson, an unbelievable talent, but not a good locker room guy, out. Jermaine Kearse comes in. He's really only had one breakout game, but he absolutely helps Josh McCown become a legitimate quarterback in this league right now.
All right, let's quickly touch on baseball. Neither one of us got a good look at either of these games. The Indians blanked the Yanks 4-0 in Game 1 of the ALDS. I'm not really surprised by that. I think there's the emotion of winning the wild card. It's tough to get back up the very next day playing a completely different opponent, knowing that it's not on the line. I would expect Game 2 to be more competitive.
And I think a big point that has to be made, a lot of people are like, hey, Severino barely pitched. He pitched to 0.1 innings in that wild card game. He could honestly go in Game 1 of the divisional series. But you know what? They're known more probably right now, especially what they did in that game, for their bullpen, and so many bullpen arms went in that game. So the bullpen just did not have the kind of clout that they did because, hey, it's just 2 games later. But how about Jay Bruce? So Jay Bruce, unbelievable with Cincinnati, goes to the Mets, and it was terrible. And now this year, pretty good with the Mets, joins the Indians, pretty good, and look what he does. 3-run home run tonight. Trevor Bauer behind him. I mean, Jay Bruce, in a very short amount of time, went from super relevant to a GOAT to back to super relevant. Now he's doing it relevancy in the postseason as well. But I think a lot of it is because, like you said a second ago, they played 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It's Game 1.
I don't think the Yanks have a chance in this series. I think Cleveland's the best team in baseball right now.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, they're definitely the hottest in terms of the last couple months.
Yeah. The other side of that ALDS, the Stros handling the Red Sox 8-2.
Only 10 times in MLB history have you seen, in 9 players, because Babe Ruth did it twice, have you seen a guy in the postseason hit 3 home runs. Jose Altuve, 5'6", listed at 5'6". He's not 5'6". Hey, 3 home runs. And Alex Bregman getting on the fun. And what's so big about that is that they didn't even go with their best guy in Dallas Keuchel in Game 1.
Yeah.
They went with Justin Verlander, who's not only not the Justin Verlander of old, but he's also pretty new to this team. He gets a win. And now they're like, well, our ace is going in Game 2. We already got a 1-0 lead.
Isn't that crazy?
Whew. Kate Upton's happy.
I kind of like that call, though, of not going with the ace in Game 1. And I think what it is you trust your bats, and the result is 12 hits.
Yeah.
You have confidence in the lineup to go out there and get you some runs, and it works.
Woo.
So, going to be interesting.
Well, and then Corey Kluber is going in Game 2 on the other side. I mean, Bauer is probably a better pitcher right now for the team he's been with all season long than Verlander. So it's not as big of a point, but hey, they got Corey Kluber, a legitimate Cy Young guy, going in game 2 as well. So the guys with the 1-0 leads are looking pretty good.
This is bad producing on my part, but I just realized we didn't do a Bills preview, so we should probably touch on the Bills and the Bengals. So Bills at Cincinnati on Sunday. I'm just pulling up the injury report right now. Obviously, no Jordan Matthews. Obviously, no Ramon Humber. Darcel Marius limited ankle. EJ Gaines limited. Corey Glenn limited. Micah Hyde limited. Eddie Yarborough limited. Sharice Wright limited. The good news is that Shaq Lawson was back and he was a full go. Shady McCoy back in a full go. Kyle Williams a full go. Tolbert looks like he's back from the thumb injury that he sustained. This is a banged up Bills team, and this is a trap game for Buffalo. It's a bad Bengals team that they have to go on the road and play. This is absolutely a trap game in Week 5. Your bye week is the following week, so guys could be, and I know they're professionals, but guys could be, quote, looking ahead. Trav's getting those important calls at 12:30 at night.
That sounds it. Not quick enough.
Good call. Good catch. From your perspective, keys for Buffalo heading into Cincinnati.
I think it's got to be that backfield for Cincinnati, is be able to stop them. Mm-hmm. Because, gosh, Mike Rodak had some kind of Twitter graphic from ESPN, covers the Bills, over the last couple of days, talking about practice last couple of days for the Bills, how many guys were out with just thumb injuries. Yeah. So even if these guys are going to be playing this weekend, they might be a little bit hobbled. So a lot of that comes in the front seven, obviously with Humber, obviously with Darius. Let's see if Shaq Lawson's going to be 100% on Sunday against the Bengals. And, yes, Jeremy Hill, very underachieving. I think that entire offense for the Bengals is maybe more underachieving as opposed to bad when you look at them on paper. Because, they still got A.J. Green. That's a kind of game changer. But Joe Mixon, I don't like to say it because of his past, but he is probably due for a breakout game here one of these days. And Giovanni Bernard has been overachieving all over the place this season.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of those kind of guys that can also catch out of the backfield, and this 2-3-headed monster with maybe a hobbled front seven. It's going to be in order to keep them away from holes in the defense and keep them away from big plays.
Offensively for Cincinnati, they're banged up right now.
Yeah.
Eifert's questionable.
Yeah.
Ross is questionable. So it looks like Ross didn't practice on Thursday. Neither did Eifert. You got a couple guys that are day-to-day. They're not nearly as banged up as Buffalo is. And
no.
That's a bad sign for the Bills. I agree. I think you have to control the clock. I'm not saying that you should be afraid of Andy Dalton because I think he's proven this year that he's not the threat that maybe he once was or considered to be, the potential to be. That's a bad Cincinnati team that is third in the division right now in the AFC North, behind a decent Baltimore team, and man, what is an interesting Steelers team. Your Steelers are locker room problems, but they've won 3 games. This will be an interesting week for Pittsburgh as well. The wise guys in Vegas have this as
what is
points. It's 3 points from what I'm looking at right here in favor of the Bengals. So
at home.
The Bills go in as road dogs. The over-under is 39. I like the Bills, and I'll take the under in this.
Like a 21-20?
No, that would be an over.
I don't know anything about betting. But
over-under is the total number of points scored. I could see this as like a 17-7 final.
Yeah, if Patriots-Buccaneers was 19-14. I think you have to watch, even with Eifert out, Bengals at tight end. Tyler Kroft is very athletic. He scored a touchdown last week, flipping essentially over 2 defenders and going high point with it, at least to start off the progression of the play. But I look at the Bills, and not only have they not maybe played up to their potential against tight ends, but Greg Olsen getting hurt early. They didn't have to go against maybe the best competition that is ready to go up against really athletic, really productive, possibly tight ends. I mean, and Kelvin Benjamin, granted, he's going against a Trey White on the outside more so than linebackers, but they had a lot of trouble with Kelvin Benjamin. Austin Hooper didn't do too much last week, but Levine Toilolo is a guy who caught way more balls. They got way more yards than a lot of people expected.
Yep.
So they have been okay, but not maybe as good as they could have been through the first few games here of this season against tight ends. And Tyler Kroft is no joke, even though he started the season second on the depth chart.
We talked about, and I think there were a lot of people talked about this, that last week was a statement win for the Bills. That if they could go to Atlanta and get the win, good dodge.
I don't know what that was.
Duck of a fly or something in the room. If the Bills could go on the road to Atlanta and beat the Falcons, but as we both noted, and you in particular last week, that was a win with a lot of asterisks on it. And this is a Bills team that in the not so distant history of this team, and in the recent history, has had good starts, has been able to get out to 2-1, 3-1 starts. I'm going to ask you this question. Maybe I'm crazy with this, but because it feels like a trap game, and because we're not too sure about this Bills team yet, could this be a statement win for the Bills? Could improving to 4-1 with a couple of good road wins be a statement for this team? I don't want to say more so than Atlanta, but I almost feel that way. I almost feel like because this is a trap game, and because this team hasn't been 4-1 in I don't even know how long, this could be a huge momentum builder for this team headed into an early bye week.
I would agree with you. I would say it's maybe a statement win possibility because, like you mentioned, they're road dogs. This is a team in Cincinnati that has had plenty of postseason play over the past few years.
Yep.
Andy Dalton had a big game last week, and they pulled off. I mean, the opponent wasn't maybe the best in the league, but they won a game they were supposed to last week, and they won in pretty exhilarating fashion. Mm-hmm. So you mix those three things with the fact that I think it looks a lot better, even though it's just one more game tail it out of the season, just to have success and to be so far over 500 through that first quarter of the season. Because right now we're through a quarter, but to do it past the first quarter of the season, I think has a lot more, even though it's only one more game, a lot more clout to it.
And this is a Bills team that won't face the Patriots until the very end of the season. I believe it's weeks 15 and 17 that they play. And so by then, you would assume that the Patriots have figured this thing out, which is not good for the Bills. If you were to play the Patriots at any point this season, you obviously would have wanted them early. And you're not getting it early. You're getting them late in the season. It's possible the Dolphins figure things out. I don't know, but anything's possible in this league week to week. So the schedule, while some may look at it as favorable, we noted weeks 4 to 8 are not going to be easy. And this is maybe the easiest game the Bills are going to have in a while. And it feels like a trap game. This has all the makings of a Bills letdown game.
Ingredients?
Yeah, it's got all the ingredients. That's the best way to put it.
I guess I didn't look more ahead on this schedule this season for the Bills. They play 15 and 17. They play the Patriots?
Yeah,
who's making the schedule?
I don't know. I'm going to look at the schedule to see if I'm right or wrong, but I'm almost positive. Yeah. Oh, no. I'm sorry. It's the Dolphins they play 15 and 17. They
Still,
play the
that's
Patriots.
ridiculous.
Yeah. It's a divisional opponent that they play 2 out of 3 weeks. My apologies. They play New England 13 and 16, but still 13 and 16 is real late.
Close together.
Yeah,
late and close together.
Yeah,
you should be playing teams way further apart than that.
I don't know why I thought it was the Patriots 2 out of 3 weeks.
That's how math works.
It's the Dolphins. I was close.
Oh yeah, no, still a team that was projected to be ahead of them in the division going into the season.
It's like I said, the road doesn't get easier. It's a Buccaneers team you're going to face in 3 weeks now. So they've got the Bengals 5th, bye 6th, Bucs in the 7th week. That's not going to be an easy week. And the Raiders obviously not going to be an easy week. We may be facing E.J. Manuel. The Bills may be facing E.J. Manuel there. That makes it interesting for a number of reasons. We're not going to dive into that yet. But that's still a good Raiders team.
Yeah, like even if Derek Carr could also be back then.
Yeah,
even if he's not, and they still have their top two guys, Amari Cooper and Crabtree, could be back by then as well. Should be back by then as well. So,
Hey, listen, this week is huge for this team. I think it's huge for the psyche of this franchise in a lot of ways.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anything else, Travs, Matt?
I think we're good.
All right, you can find the show on the internet, tobedeterminedshow.com. Make sure you download, subscribe, rate and review us on iTunes, Google Play. Just download and subscribe. Try to tell a friend about the show. We're trying to raise the awareness of it, even though we're some into this now.
We are quite into it. Hey, Liev Schreiber needs to stop messing up my fantasy. Okay. That's the big thing to take out of this, guys.
Oh, goodness.
It's a mess.
Right. Show will be recorded on a Monday, so we'll release it on a Tuesday this week. The main podcast. You can find him on the internet at Travs Matt. You can find me at Sports5Bond, the show at TBD_show.
Yeah.
Later, boys.